I'm Andrew. I'm not a professor of neurobiology or ophthalmology at Stanford School of Medicine. I'm also not an expert on anything really. This video is about how Andrew Huberman changed my life. But first, a word from our sponsor, AG1. 101 probiotics and antioxidants. Oh, Jesus. I don't know how my future kids are ever going to respect me if I have them. Okay, so this video is about how Andrew Huberman changed my life. But in order to tell you that story, I have to tell you one of my lowest moments. So I want you to close your eyes. Now, I know you're reluctant, but you're just going to have to trust me on this one. I really want you to imagine the scenario. So I just want you to close your eyes right now. Okay. Listen, I'm not trying to challenge your autonomy here. Okay, I'm gonna do it for you. Okay. Imagine you're sitting in your school guidance counselor's office. There's no one else there besides you and the receptionist. All you can hear is the faint hum of some sort of radiator and the receptionist typing away. You're sitting on one of those metal chairs with the cushions made from that scratchy corduroy type of material. The counselor comes out of her office.
Hi, if you'll just follow me.
You walk into her office. It's dimly lit. You sit across from each other, only a couple of feet of space in between you. You can still hear the radiator hum quietly. She asks,
What brought you in here today?
And you proceed to divulge everything that's been bothering you. How the pressure of school has been weighing on you, how you don't have any friends, how awful you feel every day. And after carefully listening to your plight, she asks,
Do you know what a sad lamp is?
Now, sad lamps are devices meant to mimic the sun and used to treat seasonal affective disorder. They are not cute lamps meant to save you from your depression by way of being cute. But at the time, I didn't know what they were and thought, Lady, I'm here spilling my heart to you, telling you what's wrong with me, and your prescription is to buy me a goddamn lamp. I felt let down by the school system, and I left feeling more defeated than I did walking in. But what I didn't understand at the time, what I understand now, is humans are animals too. We have hardwired mechanisms in us that shape our mood, our reflexes, our energy. And that's what that guidance counselor was trying to tell me. She was trying to explain how important sunlight is, and I brushed her off. This is where Andrew Huberman came in. He filled in the gaps I was missing, and has made a huge impact on my life. So this video is how Andrew Huberman changed my life. Dude, how jacked is Andrew Huberman that you can see how muscular he is through his shirt? Like, bro is big. Number 1, knowledge of mechanism. You hear these things growing up that you generally know to be true. Go to bed on time, get sunlight, eat healthy. But you always sort of brush them off or don't know how or why exactly they're important. This is where Huberman came into the picture for me. I started listening to his podcast literally at the height of my depression, and he helped fill in the gaps I was missing and build better habits and protocols that slowly bettered my life. An example of this is sunlight. You've always heard it's important that you should go outside and get vitamin D, but why? Well, turns out we have these structures in our eyes called intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells, and I know, try saying that 5 times fast, which are sensitive to blue light, specifically in the early morning hours of the day. If you spend a little bit of time in the morning, ideally before 10 a.m., looking in the direction of the sun, maybe 10 minutes on sunny days and 30 minutes on overcast days, you can set your circadian rhythm, which will improve your mood throughout the day, your energy, and your sleep. Since we're already talking about sunlight, let's move on to my second point. The 5 pillars. The 5 pillars. The 5 pillars is Huberman's way of conceptualizing the 5 most important areas of sort of health in your life. And for me, I use them as a way of regulating my mood. If I know I'm lacking in one of these 5 areas and my mood has sort of been down recently, then I know it's them I should be looking at instead of sort of external factors. Number 1, sunlight. We already went over this a little bit, but for me, I notice a huge difference in my mood and energy levels throughout the day on the days that I get sunlight early in the morning and then the days I sort of stay in my cave and stay inside. We evolved alongside the sun, and doing something as simple as going outside on a sunny day and getting some sunlight into your eyes in those early morning parts of the day can help regulate your mood and make you feel normal. Number 2, sleep. Matthew Walker often talks about the importance of sleep. He's known as the sleep diplomat, I think is his title. But he often talks about how if you're just a few hours deprived of sleep on a night, you have the same level of cognitive impairment as someone with like above the legal limit of alcohol in their system, you know. Why are there mosquitoes? And for me, learning about all the different mechanisms that underlie our sleep and just how important they are and how they sort of connect to different parts of your body, maybe fully understand and appreciate the importance of sleep. You'll notice when you're short of sleep that you begin to crave certain foods more and your mood feels a lot more variable. You learn slower, you feel slower. When you're younger, you tend to brush this sort of advice off because you feel okay off like 5, 6 hours of sleep. But chances are you're not some superhuman who can stay up playing League of Legends late at night and is good on like 4 hours of sleep. You know what I mean? Especially not to mention the blue light that comes into your eyes when you're looking at a screen super late into the evening. You know, that's shown to sort of decrease dopamine and your levels of happiness the next day. So even if you're younger, uh, sleep should be sort of a non-negotiable for you, and you're probably not just like okay on like 6 hours sleep. You know those people who like when they're drunk and you ask them, "Are you drunk?" and they go like, No." Like that's you, bro. Exercise. Okay, sure. You know, maybe you've always wanted to lose a little bit of fat, put on a little bit of muscle. But why is exercise really important? Well, exercise increases blood flow to the brain. It releases neurochemicals like dopamine, serotonin, and BDNF, or brain derived neurotrophic factor, and that can delay the onset of dementia. If there's a pill you can take, and on that label it read, if you take this, it'll help you live longer, it'll improve your memory, it'll help you sleep, it'll help you manage stress, anxiety, depression, it'll make your bones denser and stronger, and you'll look better, you would rob a blind guy for that pill at gunpoint in front of his kids. But you don't have to do that. You could pay $20 for a gym membership every month and go 3 times a week. That's a pretty good deal. Number 4, social connection. Have you ever been in a bad mood and just had one conversation with a friend or one of the coworkers that you like and it just completely changed your mood around? You know how long humans have existed? I feel like I never thought about this before for some reason, but humans have been around for a long, long time, something like 300,000 years. And you know, we evolved in these small, sort of tight knit communities and villages and little populations, and we evolved as social beings. And that's probably the reason why we feel things like shame, is because somewhere along the line it became a evolutionary sort of advantage for us to feel shame and feel bad for other people and to feel their emotions. And shame was like a tool in order for us to coexist alongside each other. This is why being lonely and isolated can be so painful. It's your mind's way of sending you a signal saying that something is not right here, and giving you just stress in order for you to fix it. In this episode about loneliness, Huberman sort of demonstrated how big of an impact loneliness can have on a person, and just how being isolated for so long can really mess up things for your brain and your mind in ways that are documented in the biology and the literature. One thing about being lonely for so long is that you can become more attuned to other people's faces and the sort of smaller expressions that people have sometimes. You become more aware of them, and yet you also become less good at reading them. So a more neutral facial expression, you will interpret it as more negative. Uh, there's other things too, like if you spend uh, too much time isolated, you can have chronically sort of higher levels of stress, and that could lead to lower immune function. And you also become, given enough time, you can also become like more aggressive towards other people. And it's sort of all these things that add up and sort of highlight the fact that, you know, maintaining your social homeostasis, the balance, how much like social connection you get with other people, it just highlights how important that is. What this looks like for me is that I try to have at least one real conversation with somebody every week. I think people are kind of like plants. You know, some plants need to be watered every day, and other plants are good on like 1 month, like once every month. But For me, I definitely uh, fall more towards the extroverted side. So I feel like I need as much social connection as people will give me. So yeah, water or plants. The last of Huberman's five pillars is nutrition, and he never goes out of his way to like sort of demonize any one food or really put heavy emphasis on like some sort of superfood. He talks about more of like a personalized approach. What he does talk about though is aiming for whole foods and minimally processed foods. Oftentimes, things that are super processed can have things like emulsifiers, which can strip your gut lining and lead to a bunch of deleterious health effects. Other than that, he talks about how maybe like macronutrient timing, so avoiding carbs in like around noon sort of thing to you know increase your or maintain your energy throughout the day. I think things like that have definitely been useful for me. So I'll aim to maybe eat like less rice or just keep it meat and vegetables for lunchtime. But other than that, I think food can be a super like personalized choice, whatever works for you. And if you have any different sort of food allergies and things that sort of affect your body in a weird way that you should avoid, then other than that, there's nutrients, things like omega 3s or fish oil, like around 1,000 milligrams of EPA per day. That can be really good for your brain health and also your mental health and sort of fending off like depression. So, alcohol and drugs. Now, I tend to sort of throw up probably more than the average person because I get super chronic migraines and it leads to nausea. And uh, oftentimes, when I have those sort of attacks, and I'll just end up yarfing. So, because of that, I've never been like a super huge drinker, just on like special occasions, I guess. And I don't know, when you turn the legal age, you gotta try it, I guess. Whatever. Um, but I guess I never knew exactly how bad alcohol can be for you, and understanding the mechanisms and how alcohol is water and fat soluble, meaning that it just kind of crosses into every cell in your body, regardless of your blood brain barrier or not. And that's sort of the mechanism by which it works. Like, a lot of times, chemicals have receptors in your cells, like little parking spots for these chemicals to stop at. But alcohol sort of just comes in like a toxin in every single cell and makes everything slower and attacks your neocortex, the prefrontal part of your neocortex. These kinds of things, just learning them helped me understand just why I felt so bad and how even just a small amount of alcohol can affect your sleep. Because when you drink and then you sleep, it's much more like a nap, like more like a almost like a hypnotic state than like deep restful sleep. So understanding that, it made me definitely drink a little bit less. Even the days where I did drink, I would keep it to just a few drinks instead of trying to go blasted crazy and not wake up the next day. Because for me, it took so long to recover that it almost felt like a week straight after a night of drinking. I just felt awful. I had migraines, and understanding why, I think it just finally put it into perspective for me and made me stop drinking. When it comes to cannabis use, I've never been such a big fan, but definitely watching the episode on cannabis and its effects, its side effects, had a big impact on me and sort of cemented for me that like uh, I'm good on that. I don't really need to smoke. Um, for different people, I think it's different. I know people who sort of view it as like no big deal and they've been smoking every day since like grade 9. I know people who only do edibles. I know people who just do it on fun occasions. But in general, I think, especially for the ages under 25, it can be super bad. And especially for men, the earlier you are and the higher THC content you consume, the higher probability that you might get sort of the onset of psychosis and just end up having dissociative identity disorder or some real bad mental illness, maybe later you're in 20s sort of thing. And that's the thing that people don't talk about, or that's talked about in schools, and it's something that I wish sort of everybody just knew, but they kind of don't. And I know some people who like, I worked at a place who would judge you if you who didn't smoke. My boss was not a great guy, uh, to be honest. One thing about him, I used to work at this Italian restaurant, and my sort of manager was this guy who drank every day, drank and smoked every day. Whether it was like a Friday night or like just like a Wednesday afternoon, he would just be lighting it up in the back, and a lot of my staff sort of like followed suit because I don't know, that was the leadership. Um, but that's another thing Huberman talks about in his episode about alcohol, is that if you maintain uh, like a constant level of drinking, which is it's considered high if you have more than 2 servings of alcohol per week. But if you maintain that, then your baseline level of cortisol will go up, meaning that even when you're not drinking alcohol and you're sort of back to baseline, you'll remain more stressed, sort of thing, and that can lead to this loop of you wanting to drink more. And I mean, I guess you're just an alcoholic at that point, but he would drink and smoke every day that I worked there, and yeah, it's definitely not a path that you want to go down. So, if you made it this far, thank you for watching. We are currently at 39 subscribers, which might not be a huge number to some people, but that's like a full classroom of people. That's big. And every time I get 1 subscriber, literally, that's all it takes for my day to be good. But Andrew Huberman is truly one of these individuals who have had a really profound impact on my life, and I hope for the opportunity to sort of meet him and shake his hand one day. But who knows if that'll ever happen. He's been such a luminary for me, and just having this free resource. You know, I think at my lowest, I would literally walk around my university campus or just through random forest trails like this and just listen to him. And just having that sort of habitual thing of learning about science and about the human body and all these different mechanisms, and about like sunlight exposure, all these things. It made me feel that like my trajectory was going upward instead of spiraling downwards, and that can't the effect of that can't be sort of understated. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and be kind to yourself. It sucks, I know.